May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us, brothers and sisters. I pray that you are all well. We will be continuing with Matthew chapter 21. And when they drew near to Jerusalem, and were come to Bethphage, to the Mount of Olives, then sent our Messiah 2 disciples, saying to them, Go into the village over against you, and straightway you will find an ass tied, and a colt with her. Loose them, and bring them to me. And if any man say aught to you, you will say, Our Father in heaven, our Messiah has need of them, and straightway he will send them. All this was done, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet, saying, Tell you the daughter of Sion, Behold, your king comes to you, meek, and sitting on an ass, and a colt, the foal of an ass. And the disciples went and did as our Messiah commanded them, and brought the ass and the colt, and put on them their clothes, and they set him thereon. And a very great multitude spread their garments in the way. Others cut down branches from the trees, and strawed them in the way. And the multitudes that went before and that followed cried, saying, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he that comes in the name of our Father in heaven. Hosanna in the highest. And when he was come into Jerusalem, all the city was moved, saying, Who is this? And the multitude said, This is the Messiah, the prophet of Nazareth of Galilee. And our Messiah went into the temple of our Father in heaven, and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold doves, and said to them, It is written, My house will be called the house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. And when the chief priests, the scribes, saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying in the temple, and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were sore displeased, and said to him, Hear you what these say? And our Messiah said to them, Yea, have you never read, Out of the mouth of babes and sucklings you have perfected praise? And he left them, and went out of the city into Bethany, and he lodged there. Now in the morning, as he turned into the city, he hungered. And when he saw a fig tree in the way, he came to it, and found nothing thereon, but leaves only, and said to it, Let no fruit grow on you henceforward forever. And presently the fig tree withered away. And when the disciples saw it, they marveled, saying, How soon is the fig tree withered away? Our Messiah answered and said to them, Verily I say to you, if you have faith, and doubt not, you will not only do this which is done to the fig tree, but also if you will say to this mountain, Be you removed, and be you cast into the sea, it will be done. And all things whatsoever you will whatsoever you will ask in prayer, believing, you will receive. And when he was come into the temple, the chief priests and the elders of the people came to him as he was teaching, and said, By what authority do you these things? And who gave you this authority? And our Messiah answered and said to them, I also will ask you one thing, which, if you tell me, I and likewise will tell you by what authority I do these things. The baptism of John, when was it? From heaven or of men? And they reasoned And they reasoned with themselves, saying, If we will say, From heaven, he will say to us, Why did you not then believe him? But if we will say, Of men, we fear the people, for all hold John as a prophet. And they answered our Messiah and said, We cannot tell. And he said to them, Neither tell I you by what authority I do these things. But what think you? A certain man had 2 sons, and he came to the first and said, Son, go work today in my vineyard. He answered and said, I will not. But afterward he repented and went. And he came to the second and said likewise. And he answered and said, I go, sir, and went not. Whether of them twain did the will of his father? They say to him, The first. Messiah says to them, Verily I say to you, that the publicans and the harlots go into the kingdom of our Father in heaven before you. For John came to you in the way of righteousness, and you believed him not. But the publicans and the harlots believed him. And you, when you had seen it, repented not afterward that you might believe him. Hear another parable. There was a certain householder which planted a vineyard and hedged it round about, and digged a winepress in it, and built a tower, and let it out to husbandmen, and went into a far country. And when the time of the fruit drew near, he sent his servants to the husbandmen, that they might receive the fruits of it. And the husbandmen took his servants, and beat one, and killed another, and stoned another. Again, he sent other servants more than the first, and they did to them likewise. But last of all, he sent to them his son, saying, They will reverence my son. But when the husbandmen saw the son, they said among themselves, This is the heir. Come, let us kill him, and let us seize on his inheritance. And they caught him, and cast him out of the vineyard, and slew him. When the master, therefore, of the vineyard comes, what will he do to those husbandmen? They say to him, He will miserably destroy those wicked men, and will not let out his vineyard to other husbandmen, which will render him the fruits of their seasons. Our Messiah says to them, Did you never read in the Scriptures, the stone which the builders rejected, the same has become the head of the corner? This is our Father's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Therefore say I to you, the kingdom of our Father in heaven will be taken from you, and given to a nation bringing forth the fruits thereof. And whosoever will fall on this stone will be broken, but on whomsoever it will fall, it will grind him to powder. And when the chief priests and Pharisees had heard his parables, they perceived that he spake of them. But when they sought to lay hands on him, they feared the multitude, because they took him for a prophet. Chapter 22. And our Messiah answered and spake to them again by parables, and said, The kingdom of heaven is like to a certain king which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. Again, he sent forth other servants, saying, Tell them which are bidden, Behold, I have prepared my dinner. My oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready. Come to the marriage. And they made light of it, and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise. And the remnant took his servants, and entreated them spitefully, and slew them. And when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their cities. Then says he to his servants, The wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. Go you therefore into the highways, and as many as you will find, bid to the marriage. So those servants went out into the highways and gathered together all as many as they found, both bad and good, and the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he says to him, Friend, how came you in here not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, Bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, for many are called, but few are chosen. Then went the Pharisees and took counsel, how they might entangle him in his talk. And they sent out to him their disciples with the Herodians, saying, Master, we know that you are true, and teach the way of our Father in heaven in truth. Neither care you for any man, for you regard not the person of men. Tell us, therefore, what think you? Is it lawful to give tribute to Caesar or not? But our Messiah perceived their wickedness and said, Why tempt you me, you hypocrites? Show me the tribute money. And they brought to him a penny. And he says to them, Whose is this image and superscription? They say to him, Caesar's. Then says he to them, Render therefore to Caesar the things which are Caesar's, and to our Father in heaven the things that are Father's, that are our Father in heaven's. When they had heard these words, they marveled and left him and went their way. The same day came to him the Sadducees, which say that there is no resurrection, and asked him, saying, Master, Moses said, If a man die, having no children, his brother will marry his wife, and raise up seed to his brother. Now there were with us 7 brethren, and the first, when he had married a wife, deceased, and having no issue, left his wife to his brother. Likewise the second also, and the third to the 7th. And the last of all the women died also. Therefore, in the resurrection, whose wife will she be of the 7? For they all had her. Our Messiah answered and said to them, You do err, not knowing the Scriptures nor the power of our Father in heaven. For in the resurrection they neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are as the angels of our Father in heaven. But as touching the resurrection of the dead, have you not read that which was spoken to you by our Father in heaven, saying, I am the Elohim of Abraham, and the Elohim of Isaac, and the Elohim of Jacob? Our Father is not the Elohim of the dead, but of the living. And when the multitude heard this, they were astonished at his doctrine. And when the Pharisees had heard that he had put the Sadducees to silence, they were gathered together. Then one of them, which was a lawyer, asked him a question, tempting him, and saying, Master, which is the great commandment in the law? The Messiah said to him, You will love our Father in heaven, your Elohim, with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like to it. You will love your neighbor as yourself. On these 2 commandments hang all the law and the prophets. While the Pharisees were gathered together, our Messiah asked them, saying, What think you of the Messiah? Whose son is he? They said to him, The son of David. He says to them, How then does David in spirit call him Father, saying, Our father said to my Messiah, Sit you on my right hand till I make your enemy your footstool? If David then call him Father, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him. If David then call him Messiah, how is he his son? And no man was able to answer him a word. Neither did any man from that day forth ask him any more questions. Chapter 23. Then spake our Messiah to the multitude and to his disciples, saying, The scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moses' seat. All therefore, whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe you do, but do not you after their works, for they say and do not. For they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on man's shoulders, but they themselves will not move them with one of their fingers. But all their works they do to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries, and enlarge the borders of their garments, and love the uppermost rooms at feasts, and the chief seats in the synagogues, and greetings in the markets, and to be called of men, Rabbi, Rabbi. But be not you called Rabbi, for one is your master, even Messiah, and all you are brethren. And call no man your father upon the earth, for one is your Father which is in heaven. Neither be you called masters, for one is your master, even Messiah. But he that is greatest among you will be your servant, and whosoever will exalt himself will be abased, and he that will humble himself will be exalted. But woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you shut up the kingdom of heaven against men, for you neither go in yourselves, neither suffer you them that are entering to go in. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you devour windows, houses, and for a pretense make long prayer, therefore you will receive the greater damnation. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you compass sea and land to make one proselyte, and when he is made, you make him twofold more the child of hell than yourselves. Woe to you, you blind guides, which say, Whosoever will swear by the temple, it is nothing. But whosoever will swear by the gold of the temple, he is a debtor. You fools and blind! For whether is greater, the gold or the temple that sanctifies the gold? And whosoever will swear by the altar, it is nothing. But whosoever swears by the gift that is upon it, he is guilty. You fools and blind! For whether is greater, the gift or the altar that sanctifies the gift? Whoso therefore will swear by the altar swears by it, and by all things thereon. And whoso will swear by the temple swears by it, and by him that dwells therein. And he that will swear by heaven swears by the throne of our Father in heaven, and by him that sits thereon. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you pay tithe of mint and anise and cumin, and have omitted the weightier matters of the law, judgment, mercy, and faith. These ought you to have done, and not to leave the other undone. You blind guides, which strain at a gnat and swallow a camel, woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! For you make clean the outside of the cup and of the platter, but within they are full of extortion and excess. You blind Pharisee, cleanse first that which is within the cup and platter, that the outside of them may be clean also. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like two whited sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outward, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Even so, you also outwardly appear righteous to men, but within you are full of hypocrisy and iniquity. Woe to you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites! Because you build the tombs of the prophets and garnish the sepulchres of the righteous, and say, if we had been in the days of our fathers, we would not have been partakers with them in the blood of the prophets. Wherefore, you be witnesses to yourselves that you are the children of them which killed the prophets. Fill you up within the measure of your fathers, you serpents, you generation of vipers, how can you escape the damnation of hell? Wherefore, behold, I send to you prophets and wise men and scribes, and some of them you will kill and crucify, and some of them will you scourge in your synagogues and persecute them from city to city, that upon you may come all the righteous blood shed upon the earth, from the blood of righteous Abel to the blood of Zacharias, son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say to you, all these things will come on this generation. O Jerusalem, Jerusalem, you that killed the prophets and stoned them which are sent to you, how often would I have gathered your children together, even as a hen gathers her chickens under her wings, and you would not? Behold, your house is left to you desolate. For I say to you, you will not see me henceforth, till you will say, blessed is he that comes in the name of our Father in heaven. Chapter 24. And our Messiah went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him for to show him the buildings of the temple. And our Messiah said to them, see you not all these things? Verily I say to you, there will not be left here one stone upon another that will not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And our Messiah answered and said to them, take heed that no man deceive you. For many will come in my name, saying, I am Messiah, and will deceive many. And you will hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there will be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then will they deliver you up to be afflicted, and will kill you, and you will be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then will many be offended, and will betray one another, and will hate one another. And many false prophets will rise, and will deceive many. And because iniquity will abound, the love of many will wax cold. But he that will endure to the end, the same will be saved. And this gospel of the kingdom will be preached in all the world for a witness to all nations, and then will the end come. When you, therefore, will see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso reads, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee into the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to his clothes. And woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight be not in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. And then will be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor ever will be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved. But for the elect's sake, those days will be shortened. Then if any man will say to you, Lo, here is Messiah, or there, believe it not. For there will arise false messiahs and false prophets, and will show great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they will deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they will say to you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning comes out of the east and shines even to the west, so will also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, will the sun be darkened, and the moon will not give her light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. And then will appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven. And then will all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. And he will send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they will gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So likewise, you, when you will see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Verily I say to you, this generation will not pass till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so will also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came and took them all away. So will also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then will two be in the field, and one will be taken and the other left. Two women will be grinding at the mill. The one will be taken and the other left. Watch therefore, for you know not what hour your Messiah, does come. But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in that But know this, that if the good man of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken up. Therefore be you also ready, for in such an hour as you think not the Son of Man comes. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, who his master has made ruler over his household to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, who his master, when he comes, will find so doing. Verily I say to you, that he will make him ruler over all his goods. And if that evil servant will say in his heart, My master delays his coming, and we begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the master of that servant will come in a day when he looks not for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and will cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth. Chapter 25. Then will the kingdom of heaven be likened to 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. and 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom comes. Go you out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose, and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said to the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, unless there be not enough for us and you, but go you rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came. And they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Messiah, Messiah, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say to you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for you know neither the day nor the hour where the Son of Man comes. For the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who called his own servants and delivered to them his goods. And to one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, and to another man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. And he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth, and hid his master's money. After a long time the master of those servants come and reckons with him. And so he that had received 5 talents came and brought other 5 talents, saying, Master, you delivered to me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His master said to him, Well done, you good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter you into the joy of your master. He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Master, you delivered to me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His master said to him, Well done, good and faithful servant. You have been faithful over a few things. I will make you ruler over many things. Enter you into the joy of your master. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Master, I knew you that you are an hard man, reaping where you have not sown, and gathering where you have not strawed. And I was afraid, and went and hid your talent in the earth. Lo, there you have that is yours. His master answered and said to him, You wicked and slothful servant, you knew that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. You ought therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received my own with usury. Take therefore the talent from him, and give it to him which has 10 talents. For every one that has will be given, and he will have abundance. But from him that has not will be taken away, even that which he has. And cast you the unprofitable servant into outer darkness. There will be weeping and gnashing of teeth, when the Son of Man will come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him. Then will he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him will be gathered all nations, and he will separate them one from another, as a shepherd divides his sheep from the goats. And he will set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then will the king say to them on his right hand, Come, you blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. Naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. Then will the righteous answer him, saying, Messiah, when saw we you and hungered and fed you, or thirsty and gave you drink? When saw we you a stranger and took you in, or naked and clothed you? Or when saw we you sick or in prison and came to you? And the king will answer and say to them, Verily I say to you, inasmuch as you have done it to one of the least of these, my brethren, you have done it to me. Then will you say also to them on the left hand, Depart from me, you cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. And I was an hungered, and you gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and you took me not in. Naked, and you clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and you visited me not. Then will they also answer him, saying, Messiah, when saw we you an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you? Then will he answer them, saying, Verily I say to you, inasmuch as you did it not to one of the least of these, you did it not to me. And these will go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal. Chapter 26. And it came to pass, when our Messiah had finished all these things, he said to his disciples, You know that after 2 days is the feast of the Passover, and the Son of Man is betrayed to be crucified. Then assembled together the chief priests and the scribes, and the elders of the people to the palace of the high priest, who was called Caiaphas, and consulted that they might take the Messiah by subtlety and kill him. And they said, Not on the feast day, lest there be an uproar among the people. Now when our Messiah was in Bethany, in the house of Simon the leper, there came to him a woman having an alabaster box of very precious ointment, and poured it on his head as he sat at meat. But when his disciples saw it, they had indignation, saying, To what purpose is this waste? For this ointment might have been sold for much and given to the poor. When our Messiah understood it, he said to them, Why trouble you the woman? For she has wrought a good work on me. For you have the poor always with you, but me you have not always. For in that she has poured this ointment on my body, she did it for my burial. Verily I say to you, wheresoever this gospel will be preached in the whole world, there will also be this, that this woman has done. Be told for a memorial of her. Then one of the 12, called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said to them, What will you give me? And I will deliver him to you. And they covenanted with him for 30 pieces of silver. And from that time he saw opportunity to betray him. Now the first day of the feast of unleavened bread, the disciples came to our Messiah, saying to him, Where will you
that we prepare for you to eat the Passover? Then he said, Go into the city to such a man and say to him, The master says, My time is at hand. I will keep the Passover at your house with my disciples. And the disciples did as the Messiah had appointed them, and they made ready the Passover. Now when the even was come, he sat down with the 12. And as they did eat, he said, Verily I say to you, that one of you will betray me. And they were exceeding sorrowful, and began every one of them to say to him, Messiah, is it I? And he answered and said, He that dips his hand with me in the dish, the same will betray me. The Son of Man goes, as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed. It had been good for that man if he had not been born. Then Judas, which betrayed him, answered and said, Master, is it I? He said to him, You have said. Now as they were eating, our Messiah took bread and blessed it, and brake it, and gave it to the disciples, and said, Take, eat. This is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks, and gave it to them, saying, Drink you all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many, for the remission of my sins. Many for the remission of sins. But I say to you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of wine until that day, when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. And when they had sung an hymn, they went out into the Mount of Olives. Then says our Messiah to them, All you will be offended because of me this night, for it is written, I will smite the shepherd, and the sheep of the flock will be scattered abroad. But after I am risen again, I will go before you into Galilee. Peter answered and said to him, Though all men will be offended because of you, yet will I never be offended. And the Messiah said to him, Verily I say to you, that this night before the cock crow, you will deny me thrice. Peter said to him, Though I should die with you, yet will I not deny you. Likewise also said all the disciples. Then comes our Messiah with them to a place called Gethsemane, and says to the disciples, Sit you here while I go and pray yonder. And he took with him Peter and the 2 sons of Zebedee, and began to be sorrowful and very heavy. Then says he to them, My soul is exceeding sorrowful, even to death. Tarry you here and watch with me. And he went a little further and fell on his face and prayed, saying, O my Father, if it be possible, let this cup pass from me, nevertheless, not as I will, but as you will. And he comes to the disciples and finds them asleep and says to Peter, What, could you not watch with me 1 hour? Watch and pray that you enter not into temptation. The spirit indeed is willing, but the flesh is weak. He went away again the 2nd time and prayed, saying, O my Father, this cup may not pass away from me, except I drink it. Your will be done. And he came and found them asleep again, for their eyes were heavy. And he left them and went away again and prayed the 3rd time, saying the same words. Then comes he to his disciples and says to them, Sleep on now, take your rest. Behold, the hour is at hand, and the Son of Man is betrayed into the hands of sinners. Rise, let us be going. Behold, he is at hand that does betray me. And while he yet spake, lo, Judas, one of the 12, came, and with him a great multitude with swords and staves, from the chief priests and elders of the people. Now he that betrayed him gave them a sign, saying, Whomsoever I will kiss, that same is he. Hold him fast. And forthwith he came to the Messiah and said, Hail, Messiah, and kissed him. And our Messiah said to him, Friend, wherefore are you come? Then came they and laid hands on the Messiah and took him. And behold, one of them which were with the Messiah stretched out his hand and drew his sword and struck a servant of the high priest and smote off his ear. Then said our Messiah to him, Put up again your sword to this place, into his place. For all they that take the sword will perish with the sword. Think you that I cannot now pray to my Father, and he will presently give me more than 12 legions of angels? But how then will the scriptures be fulfilled that this it must be? In that same hour said our Messiah to the multitudes, Are you come out as against a thief? Are you come out as against a thief with swords and staves, for to take me? I sat daily with you, teaching in the temple, and you laid no hold on me. But all this was done, that the scriptures of the prophets might be fulfilled. Then all the disciples forsook him and fled. And they that had laid hold on our Messiah led him away to Caiaphas, the high priest, where the scribes and the elders were assembled. But Peter followed him afar off into the high priest's palace, and went in and sat with the servants to see the end. Now the chief priests and elders and all the council sought false witness against our Messiah to put him to death, but found none. Yea, though many false witnesses came, yet found they none. At the last came 2 false witnesses, and said, This fellow said, I am able to destroy the temple of our Father in heaven, and to build it in 3 days. And the high priest arose and said to him, Answer you nothing? What is it which these witnesses against you? But our Messiah held his peace. And the high priest answered and said to him, I adjure you by the living Elohim, that you tell us whether you be the Messiah, the Son of our Father in heaven. Our Messiah said to him, You have said, Nevertheless, I say to you, hereafter will you see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power and commanding in the clouds of heaven. Then the high priest rent his clothes, saying, He has spoken blasphemy. What further need have we of witnesses? Behold, now you have heard his blasphemy. What think you? They answered and said, He is guilty of death. Then did they spit in his face and buffeted him. And others smote him with the palms of their hands, saying, Prophesy to us, you Messiah. Who is he that smote you? Now Peter sat without in the palace, and a damsel came to him, saying, You also were with Messiah of Galilee. But he denied before them all, saying, I know not what you say. And then he was gone out into the porch. Another maid saw him and said to them that were there, "This fellow was also with the Messiah of Nazareth." And again he denied with an oath, "I do not know the man." And after a while came to him they that stood by, and said to Peter, "Surely you also are one of them. Surely you also are one of them, for your speech bewrays you." Then began he to curse and to swear, saying, "I know not the man." And immediately the cock crew. And Peter remembered the word of our Messiah, which said to him, "Before the cock crow, you will deny me thrice." And he went out and wept bitterly. Chapter 27. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and elders of the people took counsel against our Messiah to put him to death. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. Then Judas, which had betrayed him, when he saw that he was condemned, repented himself, and brought again the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and elders, saying, "I have sinned in that I have betrayed the innocent blood." And they said, "What is that to us? See you to that." And he cast down the pieces of silver in the temple, and departed, and went and hanged himself. And the chief priest took the silver pieces and said, "It is not lawful for to put them into the treasury, because it is the price of blood." And they took counsel, and bought with them the potter's field to bury strangers in. Wherefore they fled. Wherefore that field was called the field of blood to this day. Then was fulfilled that which was spoken by Jeremy the prophet, saying, "And they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price of him that was valued, whom they of the children of Israel did value, and gave them for the potter's field, as the Messiah appointed me." And our Messiah stood before the governor, and the governor asked him, saying, "Are you the king of the Jews?" And our Messiah said to him, "You say." And when he was accused of the chief priests and elders, he answered nothing. Then said Pilate to him, "Hear you not how many things they witness against you?" And he answered him, "To never a word." Insomuch that the governor marveled greatly. Now at that feast the governor was wont to release to the people a prisoner whom they would. They had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said to them, "Whom will you that I release to you?" Barabbas or the Messiah? Barabbas or Yeshua, which is called Messiah? For he knew that for envy they had delivered him. When he was set down on the judgment seat, his wife sent to him, saying, "Have you nothing to do with that just man? For I have suffered many things this day in a dream because of him." But the chief priests and elders persuaded the multitude that they should ask Barabbas and destroy the Messiah. The governor answered and said to them, "Whether of the twain will you that I release to you?" They said, "Barabbas." Pilate says to them, "What will I do then with Yeshua, which is called Messiah?" They all say to him, "Let him be crucified." The governor said, "Why? What evil has he done?" But they cried out the more, saying, "Let him be crucified!" When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just person. See you to it." Then answered all the people and said, "His blood be on us and on our children." Then released he Barabbas to them, and when he had scourged our Messiah, he delivered him to be crucified. Then the soldiers of the governor took our Messiah into the common hall and gathered to him the whole band of soldiers, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. And when they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head, and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him, and mocked him, saying, "Hail, King of the Jews!" And they spit on him, and took the reed, and smote him on the head. And after that they had mocked him. They took the robe off from him, and put his own raiment on him, and led him away to crucify him. And as they came out, they found a man of Cyrene, Simon by name. Him they compelled to bear his cross. And when they were come to a place called Golgotha, that is to say, a place of a skull, they gave him vinegar to drink mingled with gall. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. And they crucified him, and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vestures did they cast lots. And sitting down, they watched him there, and set up over his head his accusation written, "This is Yeshua, the King of the Jews." Then were there two thieves crucified with him, one on the right hand and another on the left. And they that passed by reviled him, wagging their heads, and saying, "You that destroy the temple and build it in 3 days, save yourself. If you be the Son of our Father in heaven, come down from the cross." Likewise also the chief priests, mocking him with the scribes and elders, said, "He saved others, himself he cannot save. If he be the King of Israel, let him now come down from the cross, and we will believe him. He trusted in our Father in heaven. Let him deliver him now, if he will have him. For he said, I am the Son of our Father in heaven." The thieves also, which were crucified with him, cast the same in his teeth. Now from the 6th hour there was darkness over all the land unto the 9th hour. And about the 9th hour, our Messiah cried with a loud voice, saying, "Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani?" That is to say, my Father, why have you forsaken me?" Some of them that stood there, when they heard that, said, "That man calls for Elijah." And straightway one of them ran and took a sponge and filled it with vinegar and put it on a reed and gave him to drink. The rest said, "Let be. Let us see whether Elijah will come to save him." Our Messiah, when he had cried again with a loud voice, yielded up the spirit. And behold, the veil of the temple was rent in twain from the top to the bottom, and the earth did quake, and the rocks rent, and the graves were opened, and many bodies of the saints which slept arose, and came out of the graves after his resurrection, and went into the holy city, and appeared to many. Now when the centurion And they that were with him, watching the Messiah, saw the earth quake, and those things that were done. They feared greatly, saying, Truly, this was the Son of our Father in heaven. And many women were there beholding afar off, which followed our Messiah from Galilee, ministering to him, among which was Mary Magdalene, and Mary the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of Zebedee's children. When the even was come, there came a rich man of Arimathea, named Joseph, who also himself was the Messiah's disciple. He went to Pilate and begged the body of the Messiah. Then Pilate commanded the body to be delivered. And when Joseph had taken the body, he wrapped it in a clean linen cloth and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had hewn out in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the door of the sepulchre and departed. And there was Mary Magdalene and the other Mary sitting over against the sepulchre. Now the next day that followed the day of the preparation, the chief priests and Pharisees came together to Pilate, saying, Sir, we remember that that deceiver said, while he was yet alive, after 3 days I will rise again. Command, therefore, that the sepulchre be made sure until the 3rd day, unless his disciples come by night and steal him away, and say to the people, He is risen from the dead. So the last error will be worse than the first. Pilate said to them, You have a watch, go your way, and make it as sure as you can. So they went and made the sepulchre sure, sealing the stone and setting a watch. Chapter 28. In the end of the Sabbath, as it began to dawn toward the 1st day of the week, came Mary Magdalene and the other Mary to see the sepulchre. And behold, there was a great earthquake, for the angel of our Father in heaven descended from heaven and came and rolled back the stone from the door and sat on it. His countenance was like lightning, and his raiment white as snow. And for fear of him the keepers did shake and became as dead men. And the angel answered and said to the women, Fear not you, for I know that you seek the Messiah, which was crucified. He is not here, for he is risen, as he said. Come, see the place where the Messiah lay, and go quickly and tell his disciples that he is risen from the dead. And behold, he goes before you into Galilee. There will you see him. Lo, I have told you. And they departed quickly from the sepulchre with fear and great joy, and did run to bring his disciples word. And as they went to tell the disciples, behold, the Messiah met them, saying, All hail! And they came and held him by the feet and worshipped him. Then said our Messiah to them, Be not afraid. Go tell my brethren that they go into Galilee, and there will they see me. Now when they were going, behold, some of the watch came into the city and showed to the chief priests all the things that were done. And when they were assembled with the elders and had taken counsel, they gave large money to the soldiers, saying, Say you, his disciples came by night and stole him away while we slept. And if this come to the governor's ears, we will persuade him and secure you. So they took the money and did as they were taught. And this saying is commonly reported among the Jews until this day. Then the 11 disciples went away into Galilee, into a mountain where our Messiah had appointed them. And when they saw him, they worshipped him, but some doubted. And our Messiah came and spake to them, saying, All power is given to me in heaven and in earth. Go you, therefore, and teach all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, and the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, teaching them to observe all things whatsoever I have commanded you. And lo, I am with you always, even to the end of the world. Amen.
And brothers and sisters, Father willing, we will continue with the Gospel according to St. Mark. May our Father, Messiah, and the Holy Spirit be with us. Repent, the kingdom of heaven is near. Peace.